Online, ready to go. Last week, we actually finished chapter 11, and we had a little look inside of heaven. 11:19, and the temple of God, which is in heaven, was opened, and the ark of his covenant appeared in his temple. And there were flashes of lightning, and sounds and peals of thunder, and an earthquake, and a great hailstorm. So we were given a little vision of things to come. It's prophecy. It's not happening now. It's prophecy. It's a look ahead. We'll see this again in chapter, I forget, 19 maybe. I forget exactly, but we're going to see this scene again. So. We went into chapter 12 and kind of tiptoed in there a little bit. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And she was with child, and she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads were 7 diadems. And his tail swept away a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, he might devour her child. And she gave birth to a son, a male child, who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. Here's a picture of the scene that we just read about. It's the best one I could find. It's not great, but it works. So, and we talked about signs. We went in and started talking about signs and how to interpret signs and what signs mean. We talked about the baby, for instance, not being a baby, but it's a sign of the ruling Jesus, okay? Because we were just told he was caught up to his throne. So it's not about, the birth isn't about baby Jesus, because if it is, then it leads us to Mary, which means the woman that was just pictured in the verses was Mary, and we know that's not the case. Okay, we looked at that. We discussed that last week. It is not Mary. We talked about how there is a religion out there that uses this picture as Mary, and that it was an example of how they didn't take time to interpret the signs. So any questions or anything on that so far? Anything I've said? No? Okay. And the proper interpretation of what we just looked at, it's a sign of Israel giving birth to the Messiah, because we determined the woman was Israel, right? So, and we looked at that and found scripture to support that as well. So now in verse 3, we see this great red dragon. And we didn't get to talk about that last week. So what is this thing? And if we look ahead in our context, following our awesome rules of interpretation, we just look to a couple of verses ahead. Verse 9 tells us what it is. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan. So right there he tells us the dragon is Satan, okay? He goes on and says, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And that in this picture, you can see in the upper, your left-hand corner, the stars and his tail wrapped around those stars, and he's dragging those out of heaven with him. And here we're told those are his angels. That's the third of his angels that he took with him. Those are fallen angels. Okay, so the identity of the dragon is perfectly clear. It's Satan. And then if we go back to verse 4, the tail, stars of heaven, threw them to the earth. Dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, he might devour. So we know the tail is symbolic as well. It's a sign. Everything else is a sign. The dragon isn't literally a dragon. We know Satan is not literally a dragon. So that means this tail isn't literally a tail. So it's, again, he's taking, as we know, he took a third of the angels with him. Quick little footnote. This is the part of the Bible where we see Satan portrayed as a red creature with a tail and a pitchfork, like on that can of deviled ham. Okay? Now, I chose that picture because some of the other pictures, when you search the devil or if you search Satan, if you look for pictures, some of those pictures get a little disturbing. But half of them, I'm making this up, okay? About 50%, as you make up percentages, the devil is portrayed as a red demon. And we kind of know that's not true, but everybody that does that, this is where they get it from, right here, because nowhere else in the Bible is he ever called red.
Wow.
Yes.
So, help me understand where this is chronologically. This is going back. Is this history?
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on to that.
Okay. Maybe both of them happening at the same time? I don't
No, this is, short answer, this is more or less history.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question, Niall, I don't know, it might be a dumb question.
No
Hold
such,
on.
no such thing.
A third of the angels fell with Satan and fell to the earth. But the angels were in heaven at first, right?
Yes,
So those were good people at one time.
right.
Why
Not
would,
good people,
Not good people.
not people.
They were good angels
okay,
Mhm.
why would they be given up to the Satan for bad?
because Satan deceived them to follow him.
Okay, that's all I got it right.
to overthrow that.
Okay? Satan is, I think I say that a little later here, he's the great deceiver.
I just wanted to understand everything.
Okay. Yeah, I don't blame you.
And we don't know the whole story, do we?
No,
You know,
There's a lot of speculation about the
Right.
fall of Satan.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask about, God knows everything, and then all of a sudden he's got the devil and the angel trying to take over. I don't understand that part of it.
Don't feel bad because nobody else does either. There's a great debate, if you will. I mean, it's debated, theologians, scholars, whatever, ask the same question you do, and there's no consensus. I mean, we kind of have a general idea, but there's really no consensus. So it's thought that here his personality is that of a dragon. And that's kind of what this alludes to, because again, we don't get a clear picture of what Satan looks like, all right? We know he's called the serpent in the Bible. 1 Peter in chapter 5, he walks around like a lion. Here, he's seen as a dragon. It's, if you're walking down the street and you see a red dragon in front of you, you're going to go the other way, right? So we know that this is, again, it's symbolic of his. Well, it's actually thought that this kind of reverts back to Revelation chapter 6, where we saw the horseman, and the second horseman was red, and he came, the horse was red, and he took peace from the earth, it said, and people were killing one another. So it's thought that some of this red comes from that destruction, that death, that bloodshed. That's what they're trying to show here. Yes.
In my commentaries, it talks about representing his power in the kingdoms of the world over which he rules.
Right.
Is the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Right.
Is that?
I'm getting there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't be sorry. I'm getting to it. I'm getting to that part. Right now we need to establish that the dragon is Satan, and I'm kind of kicking that can down the road. But
Okay.
There's some confusion too. I think some present Lucifer as very attractive,
oh, right, absolutely.
so, and I can understand the attraction because, I think in order to think that he can replace God, be higher than him,
Right.
Or as powerful, or anyway, but that kind of distortion, but just the person himself, the object, is not necessarily seen as ugly or disturbing.
He was the most beautiful angel God made, right?
I don't know about the most, but he was one of the beautiful angels. He was a powerful angel, we're told. I think we looked at that a couple weeks ago, but I don't know if he was the most. I don't know if that word is there or not. Could be. My memory's not. Our company left at like 3:30 this morning, so my memory's not really. My hard drive's not spinning real fast right now. But anyway.
Back to normal.
Back to normal, exactly.
I think it says,
Most, is it? Okay. But we're told what we really need to be aware of is his disguises. All right, and we'll do more on that in a minute. Jesus told us back in Revelation chapter 6 that he was a murderer, he was a killer, and he was a liar. I mean, from the very beginning, he's been those things. Here, and I'm going to just stop for a second because this is something else that is debated. One of my commentators was, well, let's just say it's debated, all right? So what the heads mean, what the horns mean, what the crowns mean, it's all debated. So what I'm going to tell you, I think is consensus, but if it's different than what we have, in fact, I think I looked in one of my Bibles and one of my study Bibles was different than what I had, but the heads and his horns are authority, okay? The 7 heads are his intelligence. It speaks of his intelligence. 7 heads, number 7's completeness. It is thought that with 7 heads, he is a highly intelligent being, demon, if you will. He's no idiot. And I just want to take a minute here, just a second, another little footnote. Have you ever heard anybody rebuke the devil themselves? Or shout at him or call him a dummy? again, he's not a dummy. Jude 1:9 says, Michael the archangel, contending with the devil when he disputed about the body of Moses, dared not bring against him a reviling accusation, but said, the Lord rebuke you. So it's just, as a Christian, as a believer, as one who is saved, don't do that. Don't rebuke Satan on your own. I know I used to do that way back when I was having a bad day or I was having trials. I just kind of would, on my own, lash out at Satan and say, get out of here, leave me alone, or, get out of my house or whatever. And then somewhere in a Bible study, we talked about this verse. And this verse is telling you that if Michael's calling on God to rebuke Satan, we have no business trying to do that. I mean, if Michael's not doing it, there's no way we should be doing it. So I didn't hear all of Pastor Billy's sermon this morning, but if you're having a bad day, if you're having trials, if you're having a bad week, pray. Go to prayer. Ask God to rebuke Satan. Ask God to help lead you. Ask God. He'll take care of you. He'll get you through whatever you want to get through, whatever you need to get through, okay? So he'll protect you. God will protect you. So any questions on any of that while I'm on my little soapbox here?
Is that correct?
Huh?
Isn't there something about rebuking demons in somebody? Wasn't that a kind of a command?
Are you,
When
what?
the disciples were trying to
Yeah,
rebuke,
yeah.
in God's name, in Jesus' name.
Well, the disciples were given that power. They were given permission to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, the apostles and the 70, right, that went out were both, but definitely at least the apostles.
At least the apostles, I don't know about, I'm not sure about the
I
seven.
also remember the sons of Sceva in the book of Acts, who were Jewish exorcists
Yeah, that's right.
who were going around, and they were trying to rebuke or exorcise demons through the name of Jesus that Paul preaches.
Right.
And the demon whooped up on them.
And said, we
One
don't,
on 7 whooped up on them. What'd he say?
said, we don't know you, but we know the Jesus you speak of,
We
but
know
we don't
Paul,
know
yeah.
you, and we know
Mhm.
Paul.
Yeah, so
So-
that's, now, Paul does say, resist the devil.
Right.
And he will flee from you.
Right.
That's a little bit different than rebuking.
Yeah, it's totally different,
But,
so.
yeah.
Yes,
That was what I was
okay.
gonna say, in the Bible, I don't know where, but it does say, tell the the devil to flee from you. But Pastor covered that.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm talking to God, that's it. That's,
Some of the
I,
apostles were trying to cast out demons, and a few of the demons they couldn't cast out, and went to Jesus and asked why. And Jesus said they have to be cast out by prayer and fasting.
right,
They can't, it's not the normal way that you can cast out demons.
Right.
Some of them have to be-
yeah,
I think it's Matthew 17 something.
not sure.
One, two.
But anyway, I go to God. That's the safest, best, safest way to take care of you're having a bad week, a bad year, whatever. Just keep praying, because you'll get through it.
Seems like there's a, when it comes to these kind of spiritual ideas, people either fall off one or the other end of the spectrum, where they don't recognize any spiritual forces at all that can impact anybody's life, that they don't even, they're not real, or they see a demon behind every bush and every
Right.
problem and every headache, they're,
Yeah.
trying to find a healthy biblical balance is quite a challenge. But anyway, I don't know what.
Yep.
devil made me do it, doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah, and that's part of the problem with deliverance ministries nowadays.
Right?
Deliverance ministry, you come down the aisle, I'll give you the godly zap, and you're free from all that, and you go back home and you're free from that. The problem with that is, 9 times out of 10, they're having sin issues, not devil issues.
Right.
And first of all, it makes it's a quick fix that's not genuine. And it's blaming things on the devil made me do it, as opposed to, no, you just need to work harder on sanctification and being more godly and getting in the scriptures and prayer and listening and obeying the word of God, you know. It's a quick fix. Anyway, it's another soapbox I went.
And that's fine. No, I mean, that's, again, it's all about prayer. So,
I think also that it speaks against being arrogant. The things that we can manage the devil.
Right.
We need God.
we cannot manage him at all. Right. So, let's see. He's not all powerful. He's not God. He's not everywhere, nor does he know everything. And again, we're warned to be aware of him in his disguises. How did I do that? Hold on. Okay. Let's spend a second here on the 10 horns. It is thought that the horns represent his strength. Throughout the Bible, the horns represent strength in animals. And then the crowns here represent kingdoms. Okay? And again, this is all debated, but it is thought that the crowns are kingdoms he has been using, and the one at the bottom, the 7th one, is still, it's either here, depending on what you believe, it's either here now and growing, or it's will be here. These are the nations. It's the Assyrian Empire. It's the Egyptian Empire. Sometimes I miss Asher, you know, just to hear what he'd say about some of this. Anyway, the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, and what we've been calling the revived Roman Empire. So that's what it's thought that these crowns represent. All right, nations, you put it all together. It shows the dragon as being highly intelligent, and his dominion is prince of this fallen world. And we see that in 2 Corinthians 4:3. And even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing, in whose case the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelieving so that they might not see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. And then again in Ephesians 2:2, he's called the prince of the power of air, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience. So we're warned, and I've said this a couple times, I'm finally getting to it. We're warned to be on guard. Like I said, he doesn't come on as a dragon. If he did, everybody would run from him. So 2 Corinthians 11:13 is our warning, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. So,
By the way, it wasn't Paul.
it
We're
was,
talking about resist the devil. My bad. I just want to be accurate.
no, that's fine. Who was it?
It's James 4:7-8, and
Ah,
1 Peter
okay.
5:8-10. Both of those words are
Resisted.
resist the devil.
Resist, okay.
So
All
My
right.
bad, I just have to be accurate.
And that's fine. We want you to be accurate. We want the truth. Yes.
Just, I, it's been 20 years since I've really delved into that.
Right.
But is the revived Roman Empire, is that still the European Union?
It's debated, can be. Some still think it is. Some still think it will go from where it is now and then,
To lose one and then,
yeah. Come
okay, I
back
was
to-
just wondering if that's still the prevailing thought.
I don't know if it's still not like it used to be, because in the past, when that was the big thing, it was still small and growing, but now for it to work now, you gotta lose some people out of there, so, which is entirely possible, so, but it's still in the top couple of choices.
What is the now prevailing thought on the revised European Union? Or the revised Roman Empire?
Right. I don't remember. We talked about that several weeks ago. It's probably been months ago. One of the things is that, I'm speaking from memory. Let me answer your question next week. Let me go back and.
I don't want you to get hung up on that. I just
Yeah.
thought maybe it was a simple answer.
No, because, well, I'm trying, I just can't find it. One is that there's still Roman royal blood out there, okay? And that royal blood is in the process now of doing the revived empire.
I think you mentioned that several Sundays ago.
Yeah, it could have, right. And then there was another one too that, but the EU is still up there. So, so beware of the angel, beware of what this is saying, what this verse says is study your Bible, read the word. Make sure you are truthful. Make sure you know the word. When you hear of somebody that you question, if they say something, you question it, go to the Bible, okay? Don't go, for heaven's sakes, don't go to Wikipedia, okay? Worse, don't reference anything there. I could do a month on Wikipedia and how not accurate it is as far as Bible studies go. So don't go there. Just know your word. Know what you're taught. Okay? Any comments or questions there? Yes, Earl.
In Isaiah 14, probably 9 down, talks about Satan's fall in Isaiah.
Right?
Somebody wants to look at
Does it say the most beautiful?
it. Not here it doesn't, but
Okay.
there is a place.
I know there's a place, and I can't.
22 above the rest.
Yeah,
I think it's Ezekiel somewhere,
I think it is Ezekiel.
but I don't
Ezekiel.
remember. It's a pretty big book.
So Isaiah 14:9 addresses why he fell.
Okay, Isaiah 14:9 addresses his first fall. And I might have that today. So, here we go. So what does all this mean? All this stuff that we've looked at, this red dragon and the pregnant woman and the birth of a child and babies and a scepter of iron and all that stuff. It's in these verses, in these short few verses, basically we see the story about Satan's opposition to Jesus, okay? He's been waiting for the Messiah, intending to devour the child when he appeared, but we know Satan didn't succeed there. So that kind of answers Justin's question. Is what we're looking at is basically his first coming, okay? He knew he was coming. He was told that in Genesis 3:15. And basically, this is what John's telling us, is that if you hearken back to 3:15, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and you between the seed and her seed. He shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel. Here Satan's told that there's going to be a Messiah, and that Messiah will be his judge. There's no way, because Satan isn't omniscient, there's no way that he knows or could know who the Messiah was going to be. So throughout history, he's taken every opportunity in every place he can to stop the coming of the Messiah. That was his whole deal, starting with Cain. He corrupted Cain. Then there was Abel. Cain's corrupt. Cain killed Abel. So he's trying to disrupt the genealogy of the Messiah, okay? Seth kind of ruined all that for him, so. Then, later, he sends his army. That was the time when the pronounce that,
Nephilim?
Nephilim,
Or Nephilim?
Nephilim,
Depends on how
Nephilim.
you want 'em. Yeah.
Demons mating, fallen angels mating with earthly women and all that stuff. And again, that's man's sin, but Satan's behind everything there at that time. And God takes care of that with the flood. There was Pharaoh killing babies. You got Herod and all of his stuff, killing babies. He was sending the wise men. But once, and again, Satan doesn't know who the Messiah is at this point in time. But once God calls Abraham out of Ur, okay, that's when Satan found out that he was going to be from the Jewish nation. So once Satan found out that it was going to be Israel, that's where Satan has pretty much concentrated his work, okay? We know throughout history they've been the most persecuted nation. He's tried to corrupt Israel time and time again. There's, again, human sin works into all this, but it's still Satan that's introducing the idol worship. He's introducing evil. Read the book of Judges and you'll find out just how corrupted Israel was, okay, at the end. Once all that didn't work, he tried to use the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He hardened their hearts. And then finally Satan gets to Judas, and Judas brings Jesus to death, right? We all know that story. At that point in time, he thinks he's won, but he didn't. As he found out, it actually sealed his own fate. But yet the spiritual battles go on. So verses 1-5 is probably the shortest history of the entire Bible you can find in the Bible. It's telling you about Satan's effort to stop the coming of the Messiah. It started there, and it's going to continue until Jesus returns to earth with the new kingdom. Satan's attacks have always failed, and they will continue to fail because God is more powerful. Messiah came as promised. He completed his mission on earth and was caught up to the throne of his Father. And in the future, he will rule with that rod of iron. Any comments before we move on? Yes.
I don't mean to get off track, but it's Ezekiel 28:11,
Okay.
that's where he falls. He was a
Ezekiel.
model of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God.
Okay. Ezekiel 28:11.
Yeah.
Okay. Describing Satan's fall.
And it's a parallel, it's seeing the king of Tyre as an embodiment of Satan.
Yeah.
And so there, it's kind of weaving,
All right.
Yeah.
so,
I don't know if
But you
this
know,
really has
he wasn't in
anything,
the garden.
yeah.
Right.
I don't know if this has too much to do with this, but Ishmael, wasn't he raised by Abraham too, and how did he get so far off track compared to Isaac?
That's a whole nother Bible study.
He was a child, he wasn't a child of promise, though.
No, he wasn't. That's the short answer. He wasn't. Basically,
But he was raised, originally he was raised by Abraham, you know, till he got kicked out.
well, but see,
And then God says, I'll bless you too, you know.
right, but he was not, as Bill said, he's not God's, he's not God's promised child. So that's how, he's human. It was a human idea to bring him out. It was all human, which is why he fell. It's why he went astray. That's the short answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a good answer.
Okay. Current events.
Actually, the Muslims think of him, Ishmael, as the promised one. That's why they try to inherit
Right.
part of Israel, not Jerusalem, Isaac. I mean, yeah. They're the one.
Yep. All right. Revelation 12:6. The woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God, so that there she would be nourished for 1,260 days. So here we are. We're back in mid-trib. We're being told this. We know the woman is Israel. This tells us that the nation of Israel will be fleeing as a nation into the wilderness to a place prepared for her for the next 3.5 years. So again, this tells us that we're at the midpoint, right? This timing right now is happening almost split second as we're reading this. So let's find out about where she's going. Revelation 12, we'll keep reading here. 12:7, and there was war in heaven, Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon. The dragon and his angels waged war, and they were not strong enough, and there was no longer a place found for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, the serpent of old, who is called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren have been thrown down, he who accuses them before our God day and night. And they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their testimony. And they did not love their life even when faced with death. For this reason, rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he only has a short time. All right, so we're kind of sneaking up here on everything that's going to be happening. So here we see there's a great war in heaven. Michael at war with the dragon and his army. The result, as we read, is Satan's thrown down to the earth. And again, this sounds almost exactly like what happened early on, but because we know that happened a long time ago, this is different. This is a war that starts at mid-tribulation, okay? It can't be, because of what we just read in verse 6, it can't be, that's our time marker. It's mid-trib. So, since his original fall, he and his demons have maintained access to God. Okay, they've been able to go to heaven, they've been able to talk to God. We see that in Job is a great example.
You got your phone thing up there again.
Oh, Larry.
That's Pam, isn't it? Does it say Pam? Or
Larry this time.
Oh, ow. Uh-oh. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Job 1:6. Now there was a day when the sons of God, angels, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From roaming around on the earth and walking around on it." So this tells us that Satan still has access not only to heaven, but to God, okay? They talk to each other. And a little footnote here, or maybe a little soapbox again, so bear with me. Verse 10 tells us that he's the accuser of our brethren. And as I was preparing for this, it appears, this is what I found, and it started to bother me a little bit. Every time you commit a sin, you're giving Satan something to tell God, okay? So what that means is if Satan's in front of God accusing me, God has to defend his choice for my salvation, okay? So I sin, Satan goes before God and says, "Hey, Lyle, he's sinning again." Now God has to go, "Yeah, I know, it's his 231st time, but I still forgive him," okay? But it leads me to the point that in my sanctification, I shouldn't be giving Satan the ammunition to go in front of God and accuse me, right? So I just shouldn't keep doing it. So yeah, I can have excuses. I'm human, I have a human heart and blah, 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 but still, again, I think I'm kind of circling back to prayer here a little bit. So, it was something for me. It got me thinking, and hopefully it'll get me on a little better track. Okay.
Zechariah 3 is a good passage.
Thank you, Michael.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, that, I think it really is, it's all like, whatever needs to happen to show that, that in order to truly glorify God, that receives all the glory, only He can save us.
Exactly. Right. What do you have?
I like Zechariah 3, 1 through following. Then he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to accuse him.
Right.
The Lord said to Satan, "The Lord rebuke you, Satan. Indeed, the Lord who has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is this not a brand plucked from the fire?" Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and standing before the angel. He spoke and said to those who were standing before him, saying, "Remove the filthy garments from him." Again he said to them, "See, I have taken your iniquity away from you and will clothe you with festal robes." And I said, let them put a clean turban on his head. So they put a clean turban on his head and clothed him with garments while the angel of the Lord was standing by.
Got his white robes.
Got his
Turban.
holy vestments.
Yep, holy vestments.
But there's the accuser before the Lord.
Yep. So, think about it. That's all. Something to think about.
I like the way Bernaldo's always said, you know, Satan cannot do anything that you don't let him. You have to let him have those thoughts, and it's just always helped me, and a way to talk to the kids too.
Right.
It's you who allows Satan to accuse.
And the short way is that he's not a mind reader.
No.
You need to show something that he can seize on and promote it. And
Well, see, that gets back, I think, in his intelligence. I mean, he's been studying us for thousands of years. So he knows what makes us tick. And that's
But we open it up when we say it or think it or do it.
right, and that's exactly, yeah. All right, good stuff. All right. Here we see that there's war in heaven, and the sense here is that God initiates this war. As you read this, it's Michael and his angels. So the sense is that God initiated this. Obviously, the good guys win, right? Everybody else is kicked out of heaven. At midpoint here, when he's kicked out of heaven, I think this makes all the difference right now, coming up. His dominion has been the earth, yes, but he's always had access, okay? He's moved back and forth. And psychologically, from a psychological standpoint, I'm not sure he ever felt totally defeated. I think he felt like he still had a chance. He's still wreaking havoc. He's still doing his thing. But now, verse 10, is it verse 10? He hears from heaven that the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. So he hears this. He's expelled from heaven. And I think it puts him on alert at this point in time that this is the end's coming, okay? The one he was told about in Genesis 3:15, it's coming. And the heavens, again, are rejoicing here. They're celebrating his impending doom. They're celebrating the arrival of Jesus' kingdom on earth, the Lord's kingdom on earth. Heaven's going to be glad to be rid of him. Now, the good news here is that we're going to be in heaven too, so we're going to be glad to be rid of him. We're going to be rejoicing. We will have seen him do his thing. We will have seen him accusing people and doing whatever else he does. Okay, so we're going to be cheering too when Michael kicks his butt and kicks him out of heaven. So, this kind of leads me to why God didn't do this earlier. Okay. I'm going to give you an answer. And again, this is a whole nother Bible study and can be months and months and months, but it's grace. Okay. It's a form of grace. It's grace for the world to do this stuff earlier. It would have brought his revenge earlier, his revengeful response earlier anyway. It's God's grace, God giving, it's God's plan, really. He's got a plan, Satan's part of it, okay? The timing is everything. Excuse me. So, during all this time, people will be brought to salvation. They will get to know Jesus, and I think it's grace. I think now Satan understands what's going on. He's scared, if you will. Okay. He's going to want revenge, and he's going to lash out against the world. He's going to lash out at everyone and anyone who is in some way, shape, or form aligned with God. And since Satan can't go anywhere else, since he's here on earth now, all of his anger is going to be focused on earth, on the world, what's left of it, okay? He still must think that he can do this, that he can still overthrow God and the Messiah. So, this is what I'm alluding to, is that this is the reason for the great tribulation, is that Satan, he's going all out. This is his last shot. We'll see the martyrdom of a lot of saints coming up here. There also will be Jews that who remain faithful to the God of Israel. And then he's going to be going after Israel itself really hard. Okay?
Would you label this the beginning of the great final tribulation? Is pretty much what. Yeah.
This is it. These next events are all, Satan falling out of heaven, the woman fleeing, those events are happening right on top of each other. The witnesses we looked at last week, all that stuff, they're all within seconds of each other, okay? Because this is that central point. Does that make sense? Yes.
Doesn't he get one more shot?
Who?
Satan.
Yep.
Yeah.
When it's on
Yeah.
the brain where he's losing.
Oh, yeah, he gets, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't understand why God would let that happen, but he does.
Well, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Yeah, we'll get to
So
that.
anybody that had any doubt, they can.
So, verse 6, the woman flees to the desert. Oh, that's Job, been there. Okay. The woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God so that there she would be nourished for 1,260 days, 3.5 years, 42 months. What is this provision? Where are they going? What's the safety? That Israel, that believers, that those that are saved, what is this? And we'll look at this, Revelation 12:13. When the dragon saw that he was thrown down to earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the two wings of a great eagle were given to the woman so that she could fly into the wilderness, to her place where she was nourished for a time, times and a half time, from the presence of the serpent. And the serpent poured water like river out of his mouth after the woman, so that he might cause her to be swept away with the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and drank up the river which the dragon poured out of his mouth. Satan he goes after Israel hard because he's going after the enemy, who he perceives as the enemy. And he's always targeted the Jews. But now he's mad now. So we know, as good Bible students, hopefully we all know that there's always a remnant. Okay, God has always kept a remnant. There's always been a group that he held back. We know, we talked about the 144,000, that they could be a remnant. Satan's gonna go after all the believers, all the Jews too, as well. Well, not all the Jews, but most of the Jews, because he still knows that without the Jews, without Israel, okay, the Messiah can't happen. So what he's thinking is that this is, again, this is his chance, this is his last chance, not his last chance, but it's one of his last chance that he does this. So destroying Israel and the Jews is his only hope for self-preservation. In here we see the two wings of the great eagle, and those we know again that because everything else has been a sign, the woman, the baby, the dragon, this is a sign of some kind either. You can't put the nation of Israel on the back of an eagle. So, and the wings, and here's what, I'll tell you right now what it's not. It's not an airlift. It's not a country coming into airlift. It's not the United States coming into airlift, and you'll hear that. The United States coming to the aid. It's not that. If you follow what I've been teaching you, the United States has been gone a long time ago. So there's other reasons. There are some people that say this is the United States, partially because on our seal there's an eagle, right? So that's kind of where that came from. This is also not a rapture, okay? It's another place where some think there's another rapture here.
I understood that when she flees into the wilderness, which is, she's fleeing to Petrus. And at that time, 2/3 of the Jewish nation are gonna be destroyed, and 1/3 of the Jewish nation are gonna be fleeing in west to Petrus. The mountains
Petrus
with,
in Jordan?
yeah,
Well, wait, you're getting ahead. So,
but, I mean, that's in, talk about the woman fleeing into the desert. That's where she's going, and that's the reason why.
we'll get to that.
I'm just like a kid that wants to go into the water to be baptized.
We'll get to that. We might not get to it today, but we'll get to that. There's a pattern here. The eagle, rules of interpretation, okay? There's nothing in this context. If there's nothing in the context, we go to the book that we're in, okay? There's nothing in the book we're in. There's a pattern here, okay? Israel fleeing from an oppressor into the wilderness. And I think that all sounds familiar to us. Exodus, I have 3. I don't have 3 up on the screen. I'll read 3 and then 4 is on the screen. Moses went up to God, and the Lord called him from the mountain, saying, "Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob and tell the sons of Israel, you yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself." So the last time that Israel fled into the wilderness was to avoid danger, right? Oppression. The Lord brought them to safety, and we know that it was a supernatural journey for them, right? They marched initially, 7 days without stopping, day and night, I think, led by a pillar of fire and tailed by, or a pillar of light and a pillar of smoke in the back. He gave them manna, he gave them quail, he parted the Red Sea. It was all pretty much supernatural. We also see it in Isaiah 40:31, but those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. So, it's a supernatural exodus. That's pretty much what this eagle is representing. Is we're getting back to Exodus. It's a supernatural flee to safety. It's not going to take them 40 years this time, though, thankfully. But it also says, that's Matthew. It also says that they're protected from the presence of the serpent. So again, that means that, yes.
Can I turn the fans on? She's really hot.
Yeah, I'm a little warm too. And we're almost done here, so. It says that they are protected from the presence of the serpent. So that means they're still on earth, okay? If the serpent is here, and the serpent is the dragon, is Satan, he's on earth, these people are on earth as well. Again, this is where people think it's another rapture, mid-trib rapture, but no, these people stay on the earth, okay? And these people are protected from him. So they're around, they're beyond Satan's reach because of God. The water he's trying to use to drown Israel is a flood. Again, symbolically, it said that this water is an army of some kind. It's a Roman army. It's just flat out persecution. We're going to stay pretty much with it being water. Okay, we're going to stay literal. We'll look at that in a minute. Whatever that water is, God protects them. He opens the ground up, we're told, to swallow the water. All of these details, I think, draw or allude back to Exodus, all right? The Exodus there. Remember, he parted the Red Sea for them and drowned Pharaoh's army behind them. So I think I'm going to stop there. The water, we'll get to that. We'll stop there. Water's a flood. We're going to go, like I said, pretty much literal with the water. But I think this is a good place to stop. And then we'll look at why it's Petra next week. We'll spend a couple minutes there. So I agree with you, Bill, even though there are many, many people that disagree with us that is Petra. But we'll look at it, so. Any comments or anything before we move on?
For those of us who don't know what's Petra, I know
We'll
it means
find out,
rock.
we'll find out
We'll
next
find-
week.
You'll have to come back.
Yeah, we'll have to come back next week, absolutely.
Teaser.
A teaser, stay tuned,
Kinda like a long time ago in the movies, those cliffhangers.
yeah.
You can go online and look at Petra.
Oh, yeah.
You won't have to if you come back next week.
You can have pictures?
I got pictures.
Oh, cool. I'll be there.
I'll do the work.
You'll recognize it right away. No comments, no, okay. Volunteers to pray us out of here? Anybody?
Dear Lord, we thank you for the word today. We, are encouraged by the enlightenment that you give us. Let us seek each day your word, so that we may grow in wisdom and discernment. In Jesus' name, pray.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure, no